Hello and welcome to this deep live into the course Comparative Literature from the London College of International Studies. My name is Dr. Mohammed Lawishi, and over the next session, we will walk through every slide of this presentation in detail. This will give you a thorough understanding of what comparative literature is, why you should consider studying it, especially early in your academic career, and how you can successfully embark on this journey. The session is divided into three parts for clarity. Let's begin with part one. Course outline, chapter one, what is comparative literature? Chapter two, why study comparative literature in your first year? Chapter three, core um, themes and methods. Chapter four, academic pathways and opportunities. Of chapter five, getting started and resources. Introduction to comparative literature, exploration literature beyond borders. Welcome to the fascinating world of comparative literature, where we transcend the traditional boundaries of national literatures to explore the rich tapestry of human expression across cultural languages and time periods. This discipline invites you to embark on an intellectual journey that will transform how you understand literature and its place in your global society. This is our starting point. The slide establishes the fundamental identity of the course. The title, Comparative Literature, is presented formally alongside the authority figure for the course. This will provide us with the academic context, signaling that this presentation is the official outline for a structured program of study at a recognized college in the London College of International Studies. So if we can go to the course outline, let's think of it. This is a table of contents for our entire exploration. It doesn't just list topics, it structures the learning progression. We begin with the most fundamental question: why is it? Then justify its relevance to you personally and why study it. From there, we move into the practical how with core themes and methods before looking at the long term outcomes and academic pathways. Finally, we end with the actionable steps in getting started. This logical flow from theory to practice, it's designed to build your understanding step by step. So if we go back to the introduction, this is where the conceptual journey truly begins. The slide uses powerful language like fascinating world and transcend traditional boundaries to shift your mindset. It's making a clear distinction. This isn't just English literature or French literature in isolation. It's an active border crossing discipline. The phrase rich tapestry of human expression evokes the diversity and interconnectedness of global stories. Most importantly, it frames this not as a passive subject to learn, but as an intellectual journey that promises a transformation in how you perceive literature's function in a global society. At first year students in English departments, you stand at the threshold of a field that will challenge you to think critically about text from diverse traditions, examine the complex relationships between different literature and literary works, and develop understanding of how literature reflects and shapes our understanding of the world. So this slide builds on the previous one by addressing you, the first year student, directly. It acknowledges that you are at a threefold beginning. It then outlines the three core challenges and skills you will face. First, thinking critically about texts from diverse traditions, meaning you will analyze works from cultures you might be unfamiliar with. Second, examining complex relationships between different literary works, so you will be connecting dots between, say, a Japanese novel and a Brazilian poem. And third, developing understanding of how literature is not just a mirror reflecting the world, but also a force that actively shapes it. Chapter 1, what is comparative literature? A simple, clean, transitional slide. Its sole purpose is to signal a major shift in the presentation. We are now moving from general introduction into the first substantive chapter, which is dedicated to building a solid definition of the field. What is comparative literature? Breaking literary boundaries. Comparative literature stands at the intersection of multiple disciplines, offering a unique approach to studying literature that transcends national, linguistic, and cultural boundaries. Unlike traditional English literature studies that may focus primarily on works within the Anglo-American traditions, comparative literature embraces a global perspective, inviting you to explore connections between texts from diverse origins. So this slide delivers a core definition. It positions comparative literature at an intersection, implying its meeting point to different disciplines like history, philosophy, and linguistics. The key differentiator is the world uh, transcends. It goes beyond national, linguistic, and cultural boundaries. It makes a direct comparison to traditional English literature studies, which it suggests can sometimes be more focused on the Anglo-American canon. In contrast, comparative literature is explicitly global, and its primary activity is to explore connections between texts from diverse origins. Breaking literary boundaries, this field emerged in the 19th century as scholars began to recognize the limitations of studying literature within strictly national frameworks. Today, it has evolved into a dynamic discipline that not only compares literary texts across different languages and cultures, but also examines literature's relationship with other forms of artistic and intellectual expressions. Um, Here we get a historical perspective. The slide roots the discipline in the 19th century, a time of growing nationalism, suggesting that scholars even then saw the limitations of studying literature within strict national frameworks. It then fast forward to today, describing the field as dynamic, alive, and evolving. Crucially, it expands the scope beyond just comparing texts to each other and introduces the idea of examining literature's relationship with other forms of artistic and intellectual expression, such as film, music, or visual art, which is a key aspect of its interdisciplinary nature. As you begin your journey in comparative literature, you will develop sophisticated analytical skills while gaining insights into how literary traditions influence and respond to one another across time and space. This disciplinary approach provides a broader, more inclusive understanding of literature's role in shaping human experience and cultural identity. This slide focuses on the personal and intellectual development that comes from studying this field. It promises two key outcomes for you, the student. First, you will develop sophisticated analytical skills. You will learn to read texts in deeper, more complex ways. Second, you will gain insights into how literary traditions do not exist in a vacuum. They influence and respond to one another across time and space. The final sentence summarizes the ultimate goal: a broader, more inclusive understanding of literature's power in shaping both individual human experience and collective cultural identity. Literature Without Borders, comparative literature, invites you to transcend traditional boundaries in your literary exploration rather than confining your studies to work from a single nation or language. You will engage with texts from across the globe, examining how different culture perspectives shape literary expression and interpretation. This borderless borderless approach allows you to discover unexpected connections between seemingly disparate works, revealing universal themes that resonate across human experience while also appreciating the unique cultural contexts that give each text its distinctive character. So this slide introduces a powerful metaphor: literature without borders. It's a call to action for your own approach to study. It iterates that you won't be confined to a single nation or language. Instead, you will engage with texts from across the globe. The key analytic task here is to examine how cultures, perspectives shape literary expression and interpretation, meaning the same theme, like love or justice, might be expressed very differently in a Nigerian novel compared to a Norwegian one. This borderless approach allows you to find both universal themes and appreciate unique cultural contexts. Cross-cultural exploration. Study literary works across language, cultures, genres, and time periods, from ancient epics to contemporary fiction, discovering both universal themes and cultural specificities. Interdisciplinary connections explore how literature connected with the film, media, philosophy, history, and other arts, examining the complex interplay between different forms of cultural expression. So this slide breaks down the literature without borders the concept into two concrete practical areas of study. The first is cross-cultural exploration, which involves the direct study of works across different languages, cultures, genres, and time periods. You might move from an ancient Greek epic to a contemporary Indian novel, looking for what is common to all humanity and what is specific to each culture. The second is interdisciplinary connections, which explicitly encourages you to explore the link between literature and other fields, like film, media, philosophy, and history, examining the complex interplay between them. Through these expansive approaches, you will develop a more comprehensive understanding of literature's role in reflecting and shaping cultural identities, historical movements, and philosophical ideas across societies. So this is a wonderful slide. It summarizes the outcome of the approaches described in the previous slides. By studying literature in this expansive cross-culture and interdisciplinary way, you will develop a more comprehensive understanding. You will see how literature is intertwined with big concepts like cultural identity, major historical movements, and foundational philosophical ideas. And you will see how these connections play out across societies, not just within one. The power of comparison. At the heart of comparative literature lies the transformative act of comparison, a methodological approach that reveals insights impossible to discover when studying texts in isolation. By placing works in conversation with one another across linguistic, cultural, and historical boundaries, we uncover deeper layers of meaning and significance. This slide zooms in on the single most important methodological tool in the field, the act of comparison itself. It called this act transformative. The key insight here is that comparison is not just about nothing similarities, noting similarities. It's a methodological approach that reveals insights that are impossible to discover when studying texts in isolation. By placing works from different linguistic, cultural, and historical contexts, it into a conversation with one another, we uncover deeper layers of meaning and significance in each one. Revealing new meanings when we compare Kafka's Metamorphoses with Loxonan, Diary of Madman. We discover how both authors use surrealism to critique societal oppression in early 20th century Europe and China, despite working in different cultural contexts. Here we see a brilliant concrete example of the power of comparison in action by comparing Franz Kafka's German language story Metamorphoses with Liu Zun's Chinese story Diary of a Madman. We can see a powerful connection despite their vastly different cultural contexts. Early 20th century Europe as versus China. Both authors used surreal, bizarre scenarios: a man turning into a bug, a man believing he is surrounded by cannibals, to achieve a similar goal, to critique the oppressive nature of their respective societies. This comparison reveals a shared artistic and critical strategy across the globe. Cultural insight. Comparing creation myths from Mesopotamian, Mayan, and Norse traditions reveals both universal human concerns about origins and distinct culture worldviews that shaped these societies. Thematic exploration, investigating themes like identity, translation, and globalization across diverse texts helps us understand how literature engages with and responds to fundamental human experience and historical developments. So this slide provides three more um, lenses through which to apply the comparative method. First, cultural insights, comparing creation myths from Mesopotamian, Mayan, and North traditions now shows universal human concerns. Where did we come from? But also the distinct worldviews that shaped each society. Second, thematic exploration. You can track a single theme like identity or globalization across diverse texts to understand how different literatures engage with these fundamental human experiences. This shows the discipline is both deep and broad. This comparative approach encourages you to think beyond superficial similarities, to consider how literary works respond to their specific cultural, historical, and linguistic contexts while participating in broader transitional conversations about human experience. This slide offers crucial warning and refinement of the comparative method. It warns against staying at the level of superficial similarities. True comparative work requires you to consider how each literary work is deeply rooted in its own specific cultural, historical, and linguistic context. The sophisticated goal is to understand how a text responds to its own unique environment while simultaneously participating in broader transitional conversations about human experience. It's about the particular and the universal simultaneously. A global conversation through texts. Literature transcends geographical boundaries, creating dialogues across time and space. Comparative literature teaches us that no text exists in isolation. Each work participates in a vast, intricate web of cultural exchange that spans centuries and continents. Dr. Emily Wilson, comparative literature scholar. So this slide serves as a poetic conclusion to chapter one. It reinforces the core idea that literature transcends geographical boundaries, creating a dialogue across time and space. The quote from scholar Dr. Emily Wilson is pivotal. It encapsulates the entire chapter's message. No text exists in isolation. Every work is part of a vast, intricate web of cultural exchange. This web spans centuries and continents, and as a student of comparative literature, you are learning to navigate and appreciate this magnificent interconnected network. Now let's move to chapter 2. Why study comparative literature in your first year? Another clear divider, we are now moving from the theoretical what to the personal and practical why. The chapter is specifically tailored to address the concerns and opportunities of a first year student. Foundations for Global Understanding. Your first year of university education represents a critical period of intellectual growth and academic exploration. Choosing to engage with comparative literature during this formative time offers unique advantages that will shape your entire academic journey and beyond. So this slide immediately validates the importance of your first year, calling it a critical period of intellectual growth. It then makes a strong claim. Choosing comparative literature during this formative time offers unique advantages that will shape your entire academic journey and beyond. It's positioning this field not just as another course, but as a foundational pillar for your entire university education and your development as global citizen. While many disciplines provide valuable skills and knowledge, comparative literature it stands out for its ability to foster critical thinking, cultural awareness, and ethical sophistication from the very beginning of your university experience. The methodologies and perspectives you will develop will serve as powerful tools across your other courses, regardless of your ultimate major. So here, the slide makes a comparative claim while acknowledging that many disciplines provide valuable skills It argued that comparative literature stands out for its ability to foster three specific qualities from the very start: critical thinking, cultural awareness, and analytical sophistication. Furthermore, it states that these skills are transferable and will serve as powerful tools in your other courses. Regardless of your eventual major, it's an investment to in your overall academic skill set. Perhaps most importantly, studying comparative literature in your first year helps establish a global mindset at the outset of your academic career, training you to approach complex questions from multiple cultures, perspectives, and recognize the value of diverse intellectual traditions. This foundation will prove invaluable as you navigate both your studies and our increasingly interconnected world. So this slide presents perhaps the most significant long-term benefits. It argued that studying comparative literature in your first year helps establish a global mindset at the very outset of your academic career. This means you will be trained from day one to approach complex questions from multiple cultural perspectives and to recognize the value of diverse intellectual traditions. The slide concludes by stating that this foundation will be invaluable both for your studies and for navigating our increasingly interconnected worlds. Building cultural literacy, global literacy engagement, engage with diverse uh, literatures from Africa, Asia, Europe, the Americas, and the Middle East, discovering both their distinctive qualities and their participation in global literary conversations. So this slide begins to detail what cultural literacy means in practice. Global literacy engagement involves activity reading and analyzing diverse literatures from all continents: Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Americas and the Middle East. The global is twofold: to appreciate the distinctive qualities of each tradition and to understand how they participate in global literary conversations. You're not just studying separate blocks of culture, uh, you're seeing how they talk to each other. Critical thinking development: develop sophisticated analytical skills by examining texts in translation and original languages, learning to recognize how cultural context shapes the literary meaning and interpretation. This exposure to multiple literary traditions in your first year creates a foundation of cultural knowledge and ethical flexibility that will serve you throughout your academic career and beyond, fostering intellectual openness and cross-cultural understanding. This slide focuses on the cognitive skills developed through this engagement. You will develop sophisticated analytical skills by examining texts both in translation and, where possible, in their original languages. A key learning outcome is to understand how cultural context shapes literary meaning. The same words can mean different things in different cultures. The slide concludes by stating that this first year exposure creates a foundation of cultural knowledge and ethical flexibility that fosters intellectual openness and cross-culture understanding, which are lifelong skills. Language skills matter. While you can begin studying comparative literature with proficiency only in English, discipline encourages and ultimately requires engagement with multiple languages. This multilingual dimension represents one of the field's most distinctive and valuable aspects. Reading original texts, majors typically study at least one language beyond English to access original texts, discovering new answers, wordplay, and the cultural references that may be lost in translation. This is a crucial and honest slide about the role of languages. It reassuringly states that you can begin with just English proficiency. However, it's forthright that the discipline encourages and ultimately requires engagement with multiple languages, calling this a distinctive and valuable aspect of the field. The first specific reason given in the ability to read original texts, where you can discover nuances, wordplay, and the cultural references that may be lost in translation. This is about accessing the full artistic value of a work. Thank you so much, and we will continue in the next two slides, two sessions. Thank you so much.